Are you wondering why the other person was hired and not you? Well, stick around because in this video, I'm going to break down the top reasons why we went with the other candidate. Hey everybody, it's Brian from A Life After Layoff, and today I want to share with you why we went with the other candidate instead of you in that last interview. Now, if you're going through interviewing and you get that rejection letter for that dream job, it can be extremely frustrating. And if you're interviewing for your dream job, you go through the whole interviewing process, you think things went great, and then all of a sudden you get that dreaded rejection letter in the mail and you sit there wondering what happened. Don't worry, because in this video, I'm going to break down the reasons why we went with the other person so that you can avoid those mistakes in the future and make sure that you're the one landing that offer. Now, as a corporate recruiter with over 20 years of experience, interviewing and hiring thousands of people in some of the world's largest and most well-known companies, I do know a thing or two about why we select one candidate over another, and I'm going to spill the beans in this video. But before we get too far into it, if you're interested in more videos just like this one directly from a corporate recruiter, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any future posts and you can help supercharge your job search. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into some of those reasons. The first reason is that they had a clearer resume than you did. And the reason why this is important is that each job that's posted, the hiring manager has a very defined idea of the type of person that they're looking for. And as recruiters, we go off and we try to find those profiles that best fit what the hiring manager's expectations are, and then we submit them over. Now, when you're in an interview setting, you want to make sure that your resume clearly defines the type of work that you have done as it relates to the position. Because if you fail to put something on your resume that's critically important to somebody on the hiring team, it doesn't even have to be just necessarily the hiring manager, it could be somebody further down the chain. If you don't have it on your resume, it can either open up the door to further questioning in kind of a skeptical manner, or they could make a decision to exit you from that interviewing process because of that. And I have personally had situations where I have interviewed a candidate and felt that they were a decent or reasonably close fit for the role, sent it over to the hiring manager. The hiring manager looked and didn't see something critical on their resume and made the assumption that if they didn't have this on their resume, they clearly didn't focus on it in their career. And this particular thing is really important to us, so we're going to pass on this candidate. So as a recruiter, that can be actually pretty frustrating because they may have the ability to do something, but the hiring manager is screening you out based on your resume. So it's critically important that you have a resume that clearly sells the skills that the hiring manager are looking for. And if you're somebody that's watching this video saying, gosh, what do I need to put on my resume and make sure that I get past the hiring manager? Don't worry. I actually have a training course called Resume Rocketfuel that teaches you exactly how to write that resume that's going to give you the best chance of getting into that interviewing process and getting past each one of those steps. So I will leave a link for it below. Now, assuming that you've gotten into the interviewing process itself, the next major reason why somebody else got selected for the job and not you is that that person was more skilled at interviewing. And what I mean by this is that they're more prepared. They understood how to sell themselves. They understood how to keep composure. They understood how to establish rapport with the interviewing teams, and they understood how to overcome those objections that they could sense happening in the interview itself. Listen, interviewing is not something that we do on a regular basis, and it is a skill that needs to be developed. And it's likely that you're only using interviewing skills when you need it. And it might only be for some of you once every few years. Some of you, it might even have been once every decade. Some of you might even be longer than that. But the point is that you can't walk into an interview without any skill or knowledge of how to interview properly and expect to do well. Now, it doesn't mean that there are people that can't go in and wing it and ace it, because that does happen. But for the majority of us, it does require us to develop that skill. So if you're somebody that gets really nervous in an interview, or maybe you're somebody that's long-winded and tends to meander, or when they ask you an interview question and you become deer in headlights trying to think of a good example, those are all things that you can prepare for with a little bit of interview skill. If you need more help on that, I actually have another training course called the Ultimate Job Seeker Bootcamp, and that takes you through each step of that interviewing process and ultimately helps you ace each step to land that dream offer. So if you're struggling on this part of it, I highly suggest that you check out that training. The next major reason that they chose the other person and not you is that they demonstrated the core competencies in a more effective way. So as we talked about earlier during the resumes, each job has a certain core competency that they are looking to assess you against. The astute interviewer understands what those core competencies are before they even walk in the door, so that they're very prepared for whatever the interview teams are throwing at them. And as such, they are selling themselves in a much more effective way because they come in absolutely prepared. And they're able to link their ability to demonstrate the core competencies in a very effective manner, and it gets the hiring managers excited. So if you feel like you're struggling on it, it is worth developing that skill and prepping. The next major reason why the person was selected and not you is kind of related to the last one. And it's that the person who was interviewing before you linked themselves as the best possible problem solver. Each job that's posted has a business problem that it's trying to solve. And a good interviewer is able to link why they're the best possible solution to that business problem. And in almost every case, the person who does that the most effectively is going to be the one that walks away with the offer. So if you're not sure to identify what the business problem is, that's something that you need to build up as a skill. And I would highly suggest that before you walk into the interview, make sure that you watch my 10 questions to ask during your interview video, and I'll leave a link for that, because that's going to help prepare you to put your best foot forward walking into that interview. All right, so next major reason why that other person was hired over you is that they had closer aligned experience in the industry or in the job type that you're interviewing for. Now, this one can be a little frustrating because you may have the exact skill set that the hiring team is looking for, but if somebody comes along and has an equally strong skill set, but they're in a closer aligned industry, maybe it's a competitor, or maybe it's a certain job type that's a better or closer match, 9 times out of 10, that other person is going to get that offer. Now, there's not a whole lot that you can do about that other than trying to put your best foot forward on all the other things that we've already discussed. But at the end of the day, being as closely aligned to the type of industry and the type of position that you're working for is going to be a hiring manager bias 9 out of 10 times, and it's just something that's unavoidable. Now, the next major reason is closely related to the previous one. It's that they have more relevant skills than you did. Having more relevant skills might mean a more updated software package or maybe a closer aligned technology stack to what the company is looking for. For example, if a company is working off of an AWS platform and you happen to have Microsoft Azure instead, the person who has the AWS is going to get a much closer look than you, even though you might have the same core competencies and that you know how to work in the cloud. That person who has the more directly related skill set is going to get the offer 9 times out of 10. And the same thing goes for those of you who are sitting in companies or roles for a long period of time. You need to make sure that you're not being left behind of where the industry is going, because if you come back onto the open market and your skills are antiquated, it's going to be a lot harder for you to qualify for those positions. So make sure you're paying attention to what the relevant industry skill sets are and how the market is evolving so that you can stay on the cutting edge of your skills and be the best possible candidate. Now, there's a lot of reasons why people are chosen for jobs, but this is just going to cover the most common ones. And the last most common reason why people are selected over you is that the person was an internal employee or they were an employee referral. If you come as an internal employee and you have the right skill sets, you actually can be a weaker candidate on paper, but they already know you as a known commodity. And if that person is a star performer, it's likely that they're going to give them a stretch responsibility and give them the job over you. And that one, unfortunately, you can't do anything about. And I've seen that happen time and time again throughout my career. And as much as it might be frustrating for you as the external job seeker, you can't really be too mad at the company because they're giving their internal employee first shot at a promotional opportunity. And if you were that employee, you'd want the same courtesy. The same thing goes for employee referrals. I have seen candidates who are the referral being able to move to the front of the line and bypass a lot of candidates because they have come from somebody internal that they trust and know. There's not much you can do about it besides being the best possible candidate and interviewing with the highest level of skill. But salary or the cost to the employer is almost never a reason why one candidate is selected over another. Now, this is assuming that you've gone through a pre-screen and you're open and honest about your compensation expectations. If you are making $10,000 more than the next person, but it is still within the band, that company, if they feel that you're the top candidate, is going to go ahead and pay you what they need to pay you in order to get the deal done. I've almost never seen the salary as being the reason why one candidate was selected over another, as long as they were within the salary bands and the candidate who was selected was the stronger of the two candidates. So those of you who are saying, well, I was $5,000 more expensive and that's why they got hired, it's simply just not true. All right, so there you have it. Those are the most common reasons why the other person was selected. And again, this isn't an all-encompassing list. There are lots of reasons why one candidate is selected over the other, but these are the most common reasons that I have seen in my career. So if you're struggling in your job search, again, check out those 2 training videos. Head over to my website, alifeafterlayoff.com. It's going to give you all those tips and tricks to try to prepare you to be that best possible candidate. Good luck on your job search. Hopefully this video helped, and we will see you on the next one.